Can't leave that in.
Know me? You know what? No, hey, let me join you real quick. Let me get a...
Oh, ASMR.
Let me get a little shaker sip. Mmm. Gross chocolate. Yummy. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Today we're going to be giving our initial reactions to Thor Love and Thunder. Jumping right in. What do you think about the story?
I thought it was good. It did move a little bit fast for me, but I guess that's what they were going for because they wanted to jump straight into the conflict.
Yeah, it was only 2 hours, and apparently, I don't know if it was Kevin Feige or whoever, but they told him that they wanted it to only be 2 hours. They told him to cut out quite a bit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not
That
really...
makes sense, though, because it jumped straight in.
I mean, I think it's one of the shortest. One of the shortest.
Yeah, that makes sense because...
It did seem short.
Yeah, looking at it overall, but really not much happened.
Well, that's kind of... I've looked around and seen what some other people kind of been saying about it. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things I've seen is that, everyone kind of went from place to place. Just kind of like point A to point B. Like, let's get everyone, let's talk about their plan, and then they're going to be there.
Yep.
I guess that's how things work, but it also just seemed like it just was so fast. Everyone got in a group, be like, okay, let's go do this, and they go and do it. I mean, I don't know how to say it really, but...
Now that I think about it, when they were going to, what's it called? Omnipotent? Was it that?
Oh yeah, Omnipotent City, whatever.
Yeah, when they were going there, it was like, okay, we're gonna go here, and then they were just there.
Yeah.
They didn't really talk about
No, there wasn't much.
On the way there, they were just like, oh, we're here now. We just somehow got in.
Yeah, it just kind of point A to point B really quickly, just to kind of get through the story, and like you said, almost get to the conflict.
Yeah, as fast as possible.
It's just a fast story. It was so
and that's fine. You just have to kind of pay attention to keep up with it.
And so I think with that, it's also the other main thing that has really got everyone split down the middle for this movie is the comedy. And if it was too much, if it was too little, and I think we kind of cracked what it is. And so based on what we were just talking about, your point, I think there was not enough room between the comedy, and that's also why it felt so fast.
Yeah. I felt it was just honestly like a parody.
It did.
It was just,
yeah.
They just tried so hard to be funny, and it was funny. It made me laugh. I just felt like it should have been more serious because Gore is the god killer. It should have been,
We should have seen more.
Yeah, but it should have been a little bit more serious, and especially with Jane's story. I mean, she had stage 4 cancer and then died.
Yeah, and
it should have been a little more serious.
And all I got away from the movie was comedy.
Yeah, I was like, it's funny.
She died, and I was like...
Yeah, literally so many sad things happen. I mean, even from the first scene, Gore's daughter died, and you're like, oh, the movie's funny. Oh.
They're coming for us.
Woo!
I don't even remember what we were saying.
I was saying about Gore's daughter dying.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's funny.
Is it quiet enough yet?
Maybe.
Okay.
Probably. Okay, yeah. Hang on, let me get a swig. Mm.
Okay, well, before they come after us, we'll finish the video. We'll finish talking real quick.
Yeah. Before we go to jail, we'll finish.
So, I think the last thing you said was talking about Gore's daughter.
Mm-hmm. I just felt like, that was such a sad thing, but then it just immediately jumped into comedy. You didn't really have time to, I guess, digest what was happening around you because, Gore killed that main god, and then I was like, oh, here's Thor, he's funny.
Yeah, and I almost feel like they shoved all the seriousness to that last part of the film.
To the beginning and the end.
Because I feel like they were all completely different characters. Thor was completely different. He was completely quiet, that entire final scene where both Jane and Gore died. Mm-hmm. And, it was just all right there. The most, seriousness was just all packed right there.
Yeah.
And the rest was all comedy.
Even when Korg, sort of died. I mean, he
was
just
the most impactful death.
Yes, I was like, oh my god, no! and then it was just his face.
Immediate joke.
Yeah, it's funny, but I was like, dang.
Instead of
added more depth.
Instead of waiting till the end of the fight to be like, oh my gosh, you're alive.
Yeah, they were like, oh, here's his face. Let's continue fighting.
Time on the back of my head. Let's go.
I did not like that part.
And I think that's what we kind of cracked down when we talked about this a little bit before, is that there is a difference, at least to me, there is a difference between like comedy, like one-line comedy, you know, there's a difference between that kind of comedy and silliness. Mm-hmm. Because we can, in any movie almost, you can have these nice little one-liners that are perfectly timed, or just
and it makes you crack up a little bit, but you're not cracking up the whole movie.
Yeah, or just something else funny. But then there's also, in this movie, kind of helped me realize that there's silly comedy. Like there's screaming goats every few seconds.
Yeah, it's just goofy. Yeah. You know?
There's just a bunch of little gags.
And you know, it was supposed to be a comedy, and I loved it like that, but also, I don't know, I guess there could have just been a little bit more seriousness, because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, and that's why I did enjoy a lot of the movie, is because I went into it thinking, oh, okay, so this is going to be a comedy.
Yeah, that's what we expected.
If we went in without knowing anything else...
I can't imagine.
Oh, man, that would have threw me off hard.
Yeah, I'd be like, damn.
But yeah, since we went in thinking it was a comedy, I actually, you know, like, I relaxed, I let loose, and I laughed quite a bit. I laughed, you know, almost like right off the bat. Yeah, I almost laughed right off the bat when things started picking up.
Yeah.
I think the intro was great, though. I think the intro of Gore was pretty cool.
Oh, yes. I felt so bad for him. Honestly, I just keep saying, I don't know, I think Gore was right. I hate it, because I always agree with the villains. Like, Loki, I understood. Thanos, I kind of understood. Gore, I did as well. I mean, I can't imagine. It's so sad. So I understand if he has some malice towards gods.
That's right.
I mean, maybe he shouldn't have killed every single one, but the bad ones kind of deserve it.
I think that's also what kind of throws you off, is that it starts with such a serious scene. Like, his daughter dies right away.
Literally dies right away, and he has to bury her.
And then, what, we see Thor go and destroy this civilization?
Yes!
Like, wow, what a switch.
Exactly, and he's being all zen, and he's like a hippie.
Well, okay, so that leads us into our next kind of point, is Thor's journey. Like, what do we think about it?
I'm conflicted.
Because overall, at the end of the day, this is Thor 4. This is supposed to be his movie.
Yes. I don't think they did enough character growth, honestly, because they just made him silly the whole time, what we're used to. You know, he had the braids in his hair, he was all zen, put down Stormbreaker in the beginning, but then, you know, he's supposed to have some sort of epiphany and a beautiful thing, and I guess he did, sharing with Jane, but it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was a big switch. Maybe at the end when he sort of became a father figure, but you never really saw a distinct switch, which I would have liked to see, because Thor is such a great character, and you know, he's thousands of years old, you figured he'd have that epiphany by now. But no, he hasn't really. They didn't really talk about it a lot.
I know exactly what you mean, and this is exactly what I think happened. So, I think, after I thought about it, he really did have a decent journey throughout the film about trying to find his place as a god and everything. And it kind of sucked that it was, you know, like, it's kind of the tagline. You know, it's like, oh, well, here in Thor 5, like, 5? Yeah. That's when they're like, oh, well, he's going to be a father. You know, like, that was kind of his next step. And so, like...
The 5th movie, I mean,
it kind of stinks that it was, like, right at the end.
Yeah, we didn't get to see more of that. And it just, like, clipped to it. We didn't get to see him raising her and stuff. We just saw him, you know, it just clipped to the scene where she was older and he was just, like, already the dad. We didn't get to see his journey of becoming that father figure and adopting her.
Yeah, he just kind of took it up real quick.
Yeah, we don't know if she, like, was hesitant or what, and maybe we'll learn that in Thor 5, but it would have been nice to get to see them make that bond that is already there in the end.
You're exactly right. Like, I like seeing it, but our old neighbor is driving an RC car right now. First time ever.
I was wondering what that was. was.
I thought they started up a weed eater. And I saw a little monster.
Damn, that thing goes fast.
It's loud.
Oh my god.
It's two old men.
It just went to the ditch.
It's two old men. That's awesome.
What is wrong with this
It's like my dad. So the other thing that I was getting into is that I do think he had a solid story before that part.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to find his place in the world.
Yeah.
But we've almost gone through a lot of the stuff that he went through this morning. I think we've already gone through a lot of the stuff Thor goes through this movie.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that is, so say like in the first Thor movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me backtrack a little bit. So a lot of people are upset that Thor is kind of this comedian now.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, he has a lot more jokes this movie and stuff like that than probably ever before. But he's always been this comedic relief. He's always been one. Even in his first Thor movie, he came to Earth, he was smashing bottles, everything, because he didn't understand culture, and that was kind of the funny take on his character.
Yeah, that he was otherworldly.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
And so I don't think the comedy aspect is that new. Maybe it's on a different level now, but he's always been a comedic relief in all the movies.
It was to be expected.
In the Avengers, he talks about how his brother killed like 80 people.
Yeah.
Because he gives that "we're adopted" line. And in Infinity War, he says to Cap, "I see you've copied my beard." Mm-hmm. Like, there's these one-liners that he's always been good at and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's always been funny.
And I feel like we've gone through the journey of him understanding more cultural aspects now. But in this movie, we kind of go away with all of it. Yeah. He's kind of back to this big old, dumb brute.
Yeah.
And that's evident in the very first act. It's like, he came to Earth at first, was breaking bottles, everything, learns that that's not what you're supposed to do. And in this movie, he's not mature anymore. He immediately breaks that civilization's building.
He's reverted back to that.
And all just for the comedy.
Yep.
And, that kind of sucks because it's supposed to be his movie, his journey.
Yeah, he had so much character growth, and they just kind of on it.
They kind of just forgot about it and made him a big old brute again.
Yeah.
And, I'm all for the funny scenes of him, like doing the splits and stopping those vehicles and stuff.
I feel like that was just so uncalled for. And
It was silliness.
Oh my god, the goats.
But I did laugh at some of it. It just sucks that we have to take away some of his growth to get that.
It wasn't... Honestly, it was more like, what the hell comedy?
Yeah.
Instead of just like, I guess, normally, like, jokey funny, it was just like, what? Like, silly.
Yeah, the most random turn of events.
Goofy and weird funny. Because, like, why would she strap Korg to the back of her head? And the screaming goats. What? Why?
But, yeah, so we agree that he had a solid enough story throughout the movie, and he's set off on a decent place because now he's searching and literally has a different kind of love now because he doesn't have Jane. He's going to outgrow all his friends. So now it's on to the next stage of his life. It just kind of sucks that we did away with some of that character growth just for at the very end of the movie we make him mature and responsible again.
Yeah, and the thing is, it seems like Thor always needs someone to love. And he never, looks upon himself, really. Because it's, he loves his dad, and then, Loki, and then Jane. But it's never really about him, because now he's got a daughter.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, he's never on his own. He's always with Korg, Valkyrie,
Yeah, instead of
I want to see lone Thor.
Instead of learning to we saw lone Thor and he was just a complete mess, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But we never saw him get back into shape for the right reasons.
Yeah, I just wanted him to be good for him.
Yeah, because why did he get back in shape? It just got back into shape, I think.
But what caused him to do that?
If we would have seen
Guardians
he
of the
wants,
Galaxy?
if his journey would have been well, I want to do better for my family and my friends and honor them, and that's why he got ripped and stuff again, and that's his journey into loving himself more instead of something else. That would have been pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, well, We'll get off that tangent.
Yeah.
What about Gore? Was he a decent villain? You know, you already mentioned that you liked and you kind of agreed with him, which that's probably the best way to craft a villain, is to give them like something that you can compare to or understand.
Yes, because I feel like every villain needs a good backstory, and his is good.
His was good.
One of the best, one of the most understandable, I guess.
Yeah, per se.
Yeah, because maybe it isn't just him that's bad. It's the Necrosword poisoning his mind, just like the Darkhold poisons.
Yeah, it's kind of been the theme this whole phase.
Because the Necrosword is literally called the Necrosword.
Yeah.
It's obviously not good. And it just, like I said, poisoned his mind and kind of turned it to mush. Because the thing with the decapitated...
Oh my gosh, that had to have been one of the best moments.
That was so funny.
I forgot about it for a second.
Yes.
That made me laugh. And because that was good. That was good, evil, funny humor.
Yeah.
I mean, it cracked me up.
That just shows that he is not... right in the head. And
because he was doing it all for his daughter.
Yeah, and when you think about it, when he loses the Necrosword, is when he asks for his daughter back instead of killing all the gods.
That's true. That's what he went there for. Yeah.
When he loses the Necrosword, he sort of becomes normal again and asks Thor to take care of his daughter.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
It's the sword, because then when they got it away from him, he finally thought rationally. And instead was like, oh, maybe I should give my daughter a second chance at life instead of killing all these other people.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Just, the heinous objects that cause people to do horrible things.
I agree. So I think he was pretty solid. The only thing I would have wanted more is more butchering. He gets the title.
Yeah!
And
he's a god butcher. Let me see it.
The only thing we saw was... really cool comic panel, like references and stuff. But that was it. Like, we saw the distress call on the Guardian ship.
Yeah.
And it just showed, like, examples of what was going on. And, like, we visit Sif, which was also played for a joke.
Yeah, but I wanted to see her get her arm cut off.
Like,
maybe it's just me.
I fully thought we were going to get to see him, join, like, Thor and them, like, follow them into the city.
Yeah.
And start fighting and killing random gods.
Yeah, I did want to see that, and... that would have been so cool if he went to the Omnipotent City and just started, slaughtering.
Yes. That's just what I expected.
Yeah, we only really saw him, stab that dude in the throat.
We got that one god. We saw a handful of other gods that he's supposedly killed.
Yeah, but I wanted to, watch him decapitate something. Watch him go crazy.
Yeah.
Go ham on the gods.
And then when he fought Thor, he just kind of... it was, all defensive, and then he vanished away.
Yes.
At the beginning,
come on, man,
anyways.
you're the god butcher. You're killing all these other gods. Let's see it.
Yeah, I think I just would have liked to see a little bit more from him.
Yeah.
And now we're not going to.
Nope, because he's dead.
Speaking of, what about Jane? I thought it was cool seeing her again. She has not had enough justice throughout the MCU. That's why they had all the flashback scenes of their relationship. It's because we have not had any of that to actually build a bond upon.
I did like that because in Thor Ragnarok, we just heard, sorry Jane dumped you. And he said, mutual dumping, We were like, well, explain.
Yeah, can we get a little more of that?
I don't know the details, and I'm glad we got them. And I do think Jane is a good character, and they probably should have talked about her more than, they did. But now they did. They revisited it, and I'm glad that we got to know more about her before she kicked the bucket.
Yeah, I think everything worked for her, and it was just the rest of the comedy and everything just really brought it down because it overshadowed it.
It was a good story. I just think there could have been a little less funny, a little more serious.
Yeah, a little more breathing room
because
for us to take it in and, feel it.
Yeah, when you think about the plot, it's pretty sad.
It's pretty gruesome stories.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark.
Jane takes up the mantle of Mjolnir and Thor because she is dying from stage 4 cancer, and she helps kill the God Butcher?
It's pretty intense when you say it out loud, yeah.
But overall, you're gonna take from it. It was a funny movie.
And I did not expect to see her die, though.
No, I didn't think she was gonna die. I thought she was gonna go into remission and be fine. I did not expect her to die right there.
Like, I thought she would eventually, but not in the first film that she's, Thor.
No, they kind of, like, gave her some redemption and then said, deuces, killed her off.
Literally.
I mean, they tend to do that.
I mean...
What'd they do
they're
to Loki?
probably...
Gave him redemption, then killed him, too.
Well, as we talk about in the post-credit scene in a little bit, she's probably coming back. But I just really did not expect her to kick the bucket already.
Nope. Sure did. Died.
What about Valkyrie?
She
didn't have a whole lot to do with this movie. And I mean, that's kind of her shtick, I guess, is just not really giving, a crap about what's going on. But she'll be there.
Yeah. I love Valkyrie. And I like to see her anytime she's in a movie. But I do wish she would have more of a story. Because we know her basic story is that, Hela killed all of her friends.
Yeah.
And she's the last Valkyrie, but like...
And they sidelined her out of the final battle, too. And I guess that's why they did that to Korg. Just to kind of keep the focus, which I understand and I enjoyed.
Yeah, but I'd like to see a little more of Valkyrie. Maybe get to know a little bit more about her specifically.
I just think it could have been handled... Like, if they could have given her just a little bit more in this movie... At least keep her in
the final battle.
Well, I don't even care that she wasn't in it. I just think that if they would have given her a little more backstory during this film, it would have made her character feel a little more complete, this film, rather than...
Yeah,
hey,
they talked about her girlfriend, but, like, what about her?
Yeah, like, why did we... Like, she just kind of joined and then left.
Yeah.
And it just... We didn't get anything new from, like, her backstory or her future. Like, we just kind of know that she hates her life and her job and...
Yeah, she doesn't like being king. And she's okay with dying.
And, like...
Like, what?
We saw that they're training, like, the new kids of Asgard at the end of the movie and stuff. And so I guess that's kind of next for her journey.
Yeah, and I hope it talks more about her.
I just didn't feel full, I guess.
It kind of seemed a little stale, maybe.
Yeah, because, like, I understand we have to have her do something this movie.
Yeah.
But we didn't have her... We didn't learn enough about her, at least.
No.
But that's just kind of what I got from her. And,
I agree.
And then Korg. What do you think about Korg?
Well, I love Korg. And I'm glad he was in it because he's always a funny character. But, I don't really know about the whole face thing and then him growing back.
They did not explain.
No, I guess they
just happened.
Tried to pull a Groot thing.
Yeah, he did back.
Yeah, but...
He was definitely better in Ragnarok.
I think so, too.
There's just...
Like, piss off.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. When we talked... yeah. That's what I was going to say when we started talking about the story. Mm-hmm. That's what's crushing all the other storylines. Is that...
Crushing? Because he's made of rocks.
What? No, so that's what crushes all the other storylines. Is that there are too many comedics. There's too many comedians.
Yes.
Because everyone's got to have a funny joke, and everyone's got to say a funny joke to someone else, and then someone's got to one-up them.
Yeah.
That's what Korg was for Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. But now in this movie, all of them are like that.
Yeah.
Everybody is eat my hammer, or everybody has a
multiple one-liners.
Yeah. Everyone's got something funny to say.
Yeah.
And so that's why Korg is almost... He doesn't stand out as much anymore.
No, it kind of just fades into the background, and I hate it because I love Korg.
Yeah, because he was like one of the only...
Ragnarok is so funny.
Yeah, he was one of the biggest comedic reliefs, and now he's not.
No.
And so that's kind of what his character was, but he didn't really have his own role this movie for that.
Yeah.
So we just... There's not much to even say about him because we really didn't get much.
No.
It would have been more impactful...
Got to see his boyfriend. Maybe he's making a little Korg baby, but...
I hate to say that if he died, it would be better.
Honestly, it would add a little bit more depth.
That was the most impactful part for me, probably.
With him, yeah, and I hate to say because I love Korg, but honestly,
that's why it
he probably
sucked.
should have died to give Thor more of an edge.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone around him dies, but...
It's true.
Well, I mean, Jane was enough for him, I guess.
But agreed, it's like, there's not even really much to talk about him because although he was there for like the entire film almost...
Just kind of...
Yeah. They
he couldn't fight in the final battle either.
No, he's gone. They sidelined him like mid-movie.
Sure did, because...
Had no body.
And it never explained why the only sentient a part of one of those rock beings is their face. Like, why?
Yeah, that is strange, you know. You'd think it'd be like the brain or something.
Yeah, the only live
rock brain
is their face.
Okay, so on a better note, what about the Eternity reveal? No, that's a pretty big step for the MCU. That's where Gore went and made his wish to.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was a literal cosmic being.
Yep.
That is above Celestials. It's, if not the, the biggest one we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's really cool to see after watching Eternals, because you see that there's more celestial beings.
Yeah.
And this one just happens to grant wishes. I wish it did talk a little bit more about that, because I'd like to know why.
It was more there for a placeholder, like, well, Gore wants to do this is how he's going to do it, and here's a magic being who's going to grant wishes.
Yeah, like, they just happen to have a magic being that would do that.
And they didn't explain why the Bifrost.
The Bifrost, yes. Why is it the key?
Does everyone have access, or is it just the Asgardians? Like, I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
That might be something we can look up, but I feel like it was just weird that was the only key, I guess.
And you know how Stormbreaker specifically the key? I mean, couldn't any Asgardian...
Stormbreaker didn't exist before.
Exactly, like, couldn't any Asgardian use, like, a stick and open up the Bifrost? Why is that? Why? I mean, Mjolnir could have opened it. He could have grabbed that instead. I don't really understand.
Well, Mjolnir didn't have Stormbreaker. Or just the Bifrost. It was just the Stormbreaker, I believe.
But why?
Because of Infinity War, when they made it. That's, like, what they put on it.
I guess. I don't know.
Because that's why they had to use Heimdall all the time before.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't just do it with the hammer.
That makes sense.
But, like,
what?
Heimdall couldn't do it either, though.
Yeah.
Unless he, like... Because, it always lands vertically and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have done it himself. And that was a much smaller beam and everything. It just seems like Stormbreaker was the only key to do it. And why?
Why?
Like, why was it
Why
the
was
only...
it? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're looking too deep into it, but...
And maybe they explain it, we just didn't catch it.
Maybe.
And people are probably going to comment and be like, why?
Yeah. But on a better note, it was really cool to see this next level for, the MCU with the literal eternity.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool next step that we could, eventually see a little bit more.
Yep. Diving into more multidimensional...
Yeah.
Omnipotent beings.
Exactly. And so that's a really cool thing that, it was only there for a minute, but, like, Love seemingly had, like, some abilities left over from it and stuff, because she had that laser vision and burned the frying pan.
Yes, and I love how we can see beings that are higher than gods. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a little scary for them, because if...
Oh, yeah. If any of them, wanted to intervene with something...
They could. And they probably will.
Yeah.
Because why would they be introducing all of these Celestials, specifically the one from Eternals, because he's like, oh, I'm going to get you. So, like, how is, he kidnapped some of the Eternals. So, like,
yeah.
What's going to happen?
What is going on?
Exactly.
So that is pretty cool to see some more world building and explainers for the MCU.
Yeah, because,
and I like
this
that
phase is really coming together
to
form a story.
Exactly. I liked that about the gods, too, is that, it explained why all the gods exist and what it means about different religions and what people see, where they end up, just like a Moon Knight.
I love that. Because,
very cool.
That's a thought that humans, in real life have.
Yeah, we always ponder that question.
Yes, and so I like how they kind of dove into that a little bit more and explained.
Made sense.
Yeah. Honestly, I hope that's how it happens in real life.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Okay, so now let's talk about the ending. The ending of the movie a little bit. We already kind of went over the deaths and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What do you think about all those kids getting getting those powers?
Well, I for one loved it and thought it was a good addition, and I thought it was very funny because, I'd like to say they are just kids, but they're Asgardian kids, and I'd like to see
some of them. Oh my
God, you're right. There's some little random aliens.
They're like, I'm not Asgardian.
But they're all aliens.
Yeah.
And I love to see the next generation of, our little superheroes getting powers and showing their powers. I think it's cool. And, it's not their power specifically, but I like to see them use it and then in the end start to train. Because it just kind of sets up the next generation.
Yeah, like the young Avengers that they're setting up.
Exactly. So
that is pretty cool.
Have those little Asgardian kids.
That's true. Like Axel.
Yes. Oh my god.
Because he'll be like the new Heimdall.
I love it.
That is pretty cool. Probably him and Love, being on the Asgardian front.
Axel and Love. Oh yeah. I love it.
But that's pretty ballsy of Thor to just be like, hey kids, go fight these monsters we don't really know much about.
I mean, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have done that.
Said, hey, you with the bunny or teddy bear, how about you lead the charge real quick?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what he was
children,
like.
let me put you in harm's way real quick.
How about y'all go fight these guys so I don't have to, and I'll go fight the main guy.
Even though you've never fought anyone in your whole little teeny Asgardian Earth life, go fight these monsters and don't die. Your parents need you.
I think it was cool, funny, and the spectacle of seeing them all was awesome.
It did, give me chills a little bit, seeing all of the kids come together with the lightning bolts.
It did give me chills, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool. I love seeing that.
Was it unnecessary?
Maybe.
Maybe. Because
it was cool.
It was kind of like that superhero trope where you've always got to have a bunch of the heroes fight mindless zombies.
Of course.
To give them something to do the entire time.
Yeah, because the kids would just kind of stand there while he was fighting Gore, if not.
And I guess they had to explain why Gore didn't send a bunch of bad guys at them to help him out.
Because he just decided to kill all the kids instead.
Yeah. But it was, whether it was unnecessary or not.
Doesn't matter. It's not what we're talking about.
It was cool. It was
cool. I liked it.
And so the post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
Both of them.
So first one was Zeus is actually still alive, and that is mean.
Oh, of course, always. I hated Zeus.
Because he's jealous.
I think it was a great depiction of Zeus. I think that I was honestly surprised that Zeus was still alive because, I figured the only thing that could kill Zeus was his own lightning bolt.
For real?
Yeah. And I do like how they actually made him have a lightning bolt as his weapon.
That was cool, yeah.
Normally you just think that he just calls down lightning.
Yeah,
but
just
he has an actual
a physical lightning bolt.
Yeah.
That's true.
I do like how they use Hercules as a pawn because Hercules always wanted to impress his father. And so I think, in the actual story, and so I think it was really, really cool that Zeus uses Hercules to do his bidding.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know how Hercules is going to fight Thor because he's a demigod.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that Thor would be stronger than him. But
Thor's also a demigod.
You're right. And I would love to see the demigods fight. And so I'm very excited for that. And I'm glad they introduced Hercules.
Yeah, I think anyone who, knew that the gods were going to be in this movie fully expected Hercules to show up. Because in the comics, he's always been around. Mm-hmm. I think he's been a part of the Avengers before. But him and Thor...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but him and Thor always go toe-to-toe.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they're both super strong, everything.
Yeah.
And so I didn't mind the post-credit scene. I thought it was really cool.
I liked it, yeah.
I liked it. I think it's setting up a lot more world building, and it's going to be really cool to see someone, on Thor's level, literally physically and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
And if we are going to ever see the death of Thor, this would probably...
Hercules.
this would be a pretty cool way to do it. If he were to go out fighting...
I hope he doesn't die. But if he did...
If he was going to go out, if he was going to go out in a blaze of glory fighting, that might be the coolest way to do it.
Yeah, Hercules.
One of the coolest.
Thor plunged to their death at the same time.
Yeah.
Sacrificing himself, something like that.
But who knows?
Yeah.
What about the second post-credit scene? Jane ends up in Valhalla, meets Heimdall, and she's free to stay there.
I do like how they sort of added a little bit of closure and, showed Valhalla because it's cool to hear about it and stuff. And I'm really glad that we got to see Heimdall again.
Me too.
Because I loved his character so much. I'm so sad that he did die, but I'm glad that Axel is taking up the mantle. But I'm glad that we did get to see Heimdall even one more time.
Agreed. Just to see him happy, because last time it was so sad when he went out.
Yes. Ugh.
Back in Infinity War, he's just...
But, even if they don't, even if she doesn't come back, I'm glad that we did get to see, like I said, Valhalla, and I'm glad that we got to see Heimdall. Even if it was just for closure to show where she ends up, because she did end up believing in that and chose that, I guess, religion.
Yeah, that belief system, I guess.
She was a warrior and went out. But it doesn't really make sense because she wasn't, actually currently in battle when she died. But, whatever.
I guess there's the window, the time limit she just happened to be in.
There's a time limit, I don't understand it, but whatever.
But, I think the only thing is that I wish they were swapped, the post-credit scenes.
Me too.
I mean, at least this way it's not like, oh, she died and then she came back, right away.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like that was, that's what I wanted to personally see more. Because going in, in the comics, she goes there and she comes back as a Valkyrie. Mm-hmm. And so, that's why I figured she would die eventually, just not in this movie.
Yeah.
And so I was more worried about seeing a post-credit scene where she came back or not. Mm-hmm. And so that's just personally what I wanted to see. And so I wouldn't have minded if they were switched. And I feel like the Hercules one is more of a, if you're a real MCU fan, you're going to want to stay and see what's teasing up the next movie. Because lately the post-credit scenes haven't been hitting as hard for me. And so I feel like that would have been the cool, if you stay, you realize Zeus is alive. Oh my gosh,
Yeah. I'd like to punch them in the face for that Multiverse of Madness post-credit
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I feel like it would have had more of an impact if it swapped.
I agree.
But I think either way, really glad we get to see that she did die. She is in Valhalla, but they could do the storyline where she comes back as Valkyrie.
You know what I think? I think they're rushing to do that. That's why they killed her off here, because they want her to come back as Valkyrie. That's probably what they're trying to do.
Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're just rushing to kill her and then show her in Valhalla, because people who read the comics know that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, she was not
because they'll be like, in the next movie she'll come back.
Yeah, she was not the mighty Thor for very long at all. Maybe a day, 2 days
at the most. Yep. Of course.
And so we'll get on to the visuals and musics, because you know a lot more about music than I do.
I loved the music, and I love that Heimdall's son is Axl Rose.
That is pretty cool.
And I love the Guns N' Roses theme. I thought it was really cool because there are some specific songs that make sense.
Yeah.
And I love the soundtrack for, Thor Ragnarok as well.
Me too.
I love the rock music. It just seems to go so well with Thor. Because, Welcome to the Jungle was perfect during that battle scene. Because it was just crazy, it was chaos, and it just made sense. And there's just so many songs that go so well. Like in Thor Ragnarok, they use the Led Zeppelin song, the Immigrant Song.
Oh, yeah.
Which is literally about Thor.
It was perfect. Yeah.
And I think these Guns N' Roses songs, they were perfect as well.
I mean, yeah, it literally teased his daughter, in all the trailers and everything.
Yes.
That was a really cool reveal. I didn't talk about it a while ago, but while we're on it, just real quickly, because we're kind of hating on the movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
But that was, that threw me for a loop. Theories, everything. Did not expect that one bit.
I thought it was just a silly sort of 80s kind of themed title. I didn't expect it to actually have meaning.
Yeah, the song and the literal title of the movie.
Yeah, because Love and Thunder just sounds kind of silly,
Oh my gosh.
But it made sense in the
It fits so perfectly.
It was literally him and his adopted daughter.
I did love how hard it hit me because it was such a curve.
Yeah, because we were like, oh my god.
Yeah, we were both shocked.
The movie.
Yeah, so that part was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that part.
The music, all of it was really good.
I love the visuals. Thor movies are usually always pretty, just because of his...
It was really pretty.
Lightning.
Yeah.
Always gorgeous. My favorite scene in Ragnarok. You know?
Yeah. Well, and just like fighting against gore, really good, like amazing use of color.
Oh,
wow, or lack thereof.
I just have to talk about the black and white, but then the subtle contrast. You know, Mjolnir casting a blue light against their faces.
That was so well played.
And then that Thor's lightning still has color, and then it reflects off of the other people's faces. I don't understand how they did that.
Me neither.
Because there's so much black and white contrast, and then just a random pop of color. I don't understand it, because what I would think they would do with that is like paint them like they would paint gore. But how did they just add like a random pop of color? I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I don't know how they did.
Really cool.
But it was very, very nice. I loved those visuals, and I loved watching them as they land on the planet, them turn black and white slowly. And I just think that was super duper cool.
That
and
was.
I loved
it was pretty.
Yes. I love the color contrast and the difference between Gore and Thor. And watching Gore lose color throughout the movie, because in the beginning he had color like a human. But then as he held the necro sword for longer, he lost that color.
You're right, yeah.
And he looked sickly, even sicker than before, and just gross.
Yeah.
He needed a toothbrush. He was nasty looking.
He needed a drink of water.
He needed some chapstick. But it was the necro sword that was doing it, and just making him lose color and just look awful. And I just think it was a very nice touch.
Yeah.
Like when people are holding the Darkhold.
They handled that really well. Yeah, you're right.
They look like
their fingertips, all that.
Mm-hmm. They look awful.
Wanda at the end of that movie. Whew.
Oh. Very scary.
Sorry, Mommy.
Anyways.
So a lot of people have been talking about how this whole phase of the MCU has had really bad CGI. And there's a big thing going around about, I don't know how true it is or not, but there's a lot of people talking about how Marvel just isn't paying their workers, or they're giving them, awful deadlines. Or like they're paying them really well, but they're giving them unreasonable deadlines, so they can't get things done. And the first time I ever really noticed that was when it was coming out that they were still editing things for No Way Home while it was in theaters.
Which is insane and not fair to...
One of the biggest movies, and they're still... Like, I would have understood if they wanted to wait a little bit longer.
Yes, it would have made sense. I mean, any reasonable Marvel fans will understand that things like this take years to make, and so they wouldn't be upset about it taking a couple more months. I mean,
yes,
what have you got to lose,
Yeah, instead of, say, quantity over quality, which is kind of what they're going for if they're releasing these without finished CGI.
Yeah.
And that really sucks for fans in the Marvel Universe.
That's important.
Because I think we can all agree now that quality over quantity is best.
Yes, I want to see the most perfect CGI that you can get.
We want to see what they're willing to put out, but we understand if they want to wait a little bit.
Yes, I mean, you got to cut these workers some slack. I can't imagine how difficult it is to make a movie like that. I mean...
Well, so in this movie, you said that the very first God we saw, you didn't like what it looked like?
No, I didn't. I think the CGI was a little bit off. I guess because it was one of the first scenes. But whenever he was choking Gore, it just looked a little off. Like, his hand didn't really match up with Gore's throat because the god was so much bigger than Gore, because obviously he's a god. And so I guess they were trying to compensate with that, and they kind of have to make the guy look bigger, and so he's not even actually touching Gore because he has to look so much bigger than Gore, so it's kind of like a proportional thing. And so I just thought that could have been a little bit better. I mean, I couldn't have done any better, obviously. But I just think that was a little iffy for me. And I always point out the CGI things, like in Multiverse of Madness. I thought the little starfish eyeball kind of looked a little...
Oh, yeah.
And that's because, they were probably finishing it and didn't really have enough time. But I think they just kind of went a little.
I agree.
You know,
To be fair,
saving money.
to be fair,
Later scenes.
some of the things that look wonky are, I'm pretty sure it's because they're using that new type of, like, background screen. I don't know what you call it anymore, but it's what they used on The Mandalorian. And it was this revolutionary tech because you don't have to build as many sets or anything.
Yeah.
Because you can just use it. And I think this was one of the first times they've used it. And if that really is the case, then that is probably them trying to kind of dip their toes into it and get more used to it. But, agreed, there were some questionable CGI scenes. Axel's floating head. Immediately, I thought that looked really, really weird.
I thought that was a little funny too. I didn't know what you thought about it. I was like, oh, man, he really is just a floating head.
It really is just floating there,
It
man.
looks kind of silly.
It was a little off-putting.
Yeah.
There was like one other scene that I can like remember off the top of. I joked. There's only one thing I remember off the top of my head, and that was like during their fight. There's like this kind of mighty Thor scene of her like flying back from Gore's head or something like that.
Oh, yes.
And it looked a little weird.
Yes. And I think the goats looked a little weird sometimes because they're big.
Oh, really?
They're big goats.
Yeah.
And so you could tell that it's just a, like, normal goat and they just made it, you know.
But yeah, I think
Overall, it was great, though.
I think this, it's good.
Yeah, just some scenes, and of course, there's gonna be...
It's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, a 2-hour movie, even if it is shorter than most other Marvel movies, it can't be perfect. Okay.
Okay, so now we have our son with us because he just got home.
Yeah.
So one of the last things we've got to talk about is the suits. What did you think about the suits, the costume designs?
Well, I hated the helmets, but they're comic
Oh,
accurate.
that's what one CGI scene looked a little wonky too, was Jane's helmet at one point.
Yes, but, it's the comic book helmet, so I can't really be mad about it. It's a personal preference.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool to see,
I think
the original helmets.
everybody's suits were so perfect except Thor's himself, which really
Oh my
sucks.
god, me too. I thought Thor's looked a little weird. I didn't like the colors.
It grew on me eventually, and not gonna lie, the helmet got a lot of hate before the movie came out. I didn't, I hated on it too. Did not think it looked as bad on him on screen, thankfully.
And it wasn't on the whole time.
And it definitely
It's
wasn't.
not for like 30 seconds because he wanted to look better than Jane.
It could have just been me, but I feel like his suit also changed. I was trying to look it up. It seemed like it was blue up on the chest piece, and then it changed from silver to it changed back and forth. It was kind of weird.
Yes.
I've seen multiple pictures, and I
don't really
remember
remember
why.
seeing the blue later.
Yeah, I felt like it swapped, or maybe it was just me and it was just reflections. I don't know, but his suit grew on me, but it was really out of tone for him, I guess.
Yeah, it was different than his normal, because normally it's, black and red.
Like, I get it, it was for the gag. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what you just reminded me of it. It was to look different from Jane, copying him.
Exactly.
It just, I don't know why I didn't.
Silly.
I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't change it back.
Yeah.
Or, because that suit he had at the beginning before he saw her was beautiful. The big old furry cape on. I mean,
I loved it.
But basically, that's what I thought, is that they were all good. His could have been better.
Yeah, agreed.
But to wrap things up, since we've got to go take care of our son and stuff, was it good? Was the movie good?
I thought it was good.
I thought it was good and it was
From
enjoyable.
a comedic aspect, absolutely.
If you go in knowing it's a comedy, just
enjoy
relax. Just know what to expect a little bit.
Be there to laugh.
Yes, you will enjoy it.
Yeah. If not, you probably won't.
What about Ragnarok? Is it better? Is it better than
No.
Ragnarok? I don't think so either.
Maybe it's because Ragnarok is my favorite MCU movie. Maybe I'm just biased. But I don't know. Ragnarok just holds a special place in my heart. Because it's hilarious. It was the original,
Yeah.
real comedy.
I think they tried a little too hard to recreate Ragnarok.
I think
or
so too, because
push it a
it's
step
so
further.
good.
I think they were like, oh, people like comedy, like more comedy in Thor.
Let's do absolutely everything to make people laugh in this movie.
Let's let Taika do it anything he wants. And, like, I understand the motive. I understand that it worked quite a few times. But it could have been maybe toned down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think Kevin Feige is trying now to let directors just kind of do what they want so he doesn't have to oversee everything.
Which makes sense.
This might be an instance where, you know,
Maybe he should.
maybe he should have intervened just a little bit.
Put his foot in a little.
But who knows, whatever.
Yeah.
But then, so the last thing. Overall MCU, where do you think you'd put it? So below Ragnarok.
Absolutely.
Lower end, higher end.
From a comedic standpoint, I would rate it on the higher end. But as a movie in general, maybe the middle.
I can agree with that.
Because I don't think it was bad. It wasn't a bad movie. Just the way it contributes to the whole story of the MCU isn't really that special. The only special, like genuinely special part is the celestial being, I guess. It adds to the whole story.
You would have liked to see it more connected?
Yeah. But it was a Thor movie, so I completely understand why it wasn't.
Exactly, yeah.
So
I think I can agree with that.
yeah,
though.
just as a movie in general, it was good.
I think I can agree. It's mid-tier. I would watch it again.
I would watch it again, absolutely.
And that's not something I said immediately after watching Multiverse Madness. I would watch it again now, but I think this has more rewatchability.
Yeah, because it's funny.
It's more standalone, more, yeah.
The funny movies you can easily watch again. Like I just watched Ragnarok the other day, like twice.
Yeah.
But I do think it was a good movie. I don't think it was bad.
Yeah, I don't need it.
I definitely don't think it was bad.
It's not great, not bad. It's there, it's good.
It's good.
I'd watch it again.
It's funny.
I laughed a lot.
Yeah, as a funny movie, it's great.
Yeah. All right, then.
Got any questions, Jasper? Got anything to say?
Who he did like? Maybe.
Can I have your bink? Got anything to say?
Anything to say to everybody else? Oh, okay.
Nice.
Thank you.
Got anything else? Got anything to say? Wait, say it.
Oh, big old smile. All right, well, you got anything else to say? Worth the watch.
Worth to watch, definitely.
Glad we watched it.
Me too. I'm glad we went and watched it.
All right, then. He didn't watch it.
No, you thought it was funny though, clearly.
Yeah. All right, well, that's been our initial thoughts on the movie.
Yep. Hope you liked it. If you didn't, that's okay too.
All right, and yeah, that was pretty good. That's that.
Bye!
See ya.